Hello, this is Faith at Faith&books, and this is going to be a tag for Tag Tuesday. I'm doing this on a Friday, but I'm going to put it up for Tuesday. And I've seen, no one tagged me, or if anyone has tagged me lately, I have no idea, because I just have been I feel so out of the loop. But I saw this at Hannah's Books. It was the A through J tag. And then I saw it also just today at Tom L.A. Books, I think is his title. I've just discovered his channel. Really enjoy it. I saw it there. He did the A through J. And then, I believe it was yesterday, I saw that Bookish Bryant's did A through R. So I'm going to do A through R, just because you get to talk about more books. Let me get started because I don't want this to go too long. So the A through R tag. So number one, A. A is for author. Which author have you read the most books by? And I counted it up, and I've read, I'm a little fuzzy, but I've read 36 or 37 books by Georgette Hare, or Higher. And you can see I have a bunch of them back here. Can you see that? No, you can't. Here, wait, let me. There, right there. Those are Georgette Hare books. But most of them I've read on my Kindle. And I read all the summer before last, was it? I read all of her mysteries one summer. That was a project that I had for myself. And so, so she wins number one there. I don't know if I should be ashamed of that fact or not. But anyway, that's what it is. Let's see. B is for Black History Month. What are you reading for Black History Month? So I don't usually focus on reading something for Black History Month. For me, it's more about what's on PBS, because PBS always puts on some interesting program. This time it's going to be the Black Church is coming on. I think in my area, I think the 15th, maybe. So that's usually how I commemorate Black History Month. But this time I am planning to read a couple of books. And it was sort of coincidental, and maybe it was sort of inspired by Black History Month too, I don't know. But I've been wanting to read the book Kindred by Octavia Butler. I was going to try to read it in January, but I didn't get to it. And then I started reading another book that I was reading with a group. But I'm just about to finish that. So I just last night downloaded Kindred on my Kindle. And I'm going to read it maybe starting tonight if I finish up that other book. And then another book that I'm waiting on, I ordered, and it's a book that I've been eyeing for a couple of years because I like gardening, and one of the places I like to get seeds from is the Southern Exposure Seed Exchange, which sells heirloom seeds. They're very socially conscious, and they're in my state of Virginia, and one of the things that they mention in their catalog is plant some cotton, and then you can actually know what a back-breaking job it is to pick cotton. It's really hard. So things like that. And one book that they have, they also sell some books, mostly seeds, and then some equipment, and then some books. And one of them is called Farming While Black. And I just decided I was gonna splurge and buy it. It's kind of expensive, like $35. So I actually didn't buy it from them. I went and looked for it used. So I got it for $30. But then the crazy thing is that my daughter went back to college, and she's been ordering things from Amazon, and the default address went to her address. So it actually got mailed to her school, and she's gonna have to mail it to me. So it's probably gonna cost $35 in the end anyway. So I didn't save anything. Anyway, I'm looking forward to reading that. I think it's about sort of this co-op farm called Soulfire Farm. But in the little blurb and what I've read about it, it sort of gives the history of the relationship between African Americans and farming, and but also like practical advice about how to sort of break into homesteading or farming, market gardening, and that sort of thing. So I just thought it sounded really interesting. And it's a topic that's dear to my heart, and this would be from a little bit different perspective, so I thought it was interesting. So that's Kindred by Octavia Butler and Farming While Black, and I don't know who the authors of that book is. I don't remember. Okay, C. What are you currently reading? I'm just about to finish up The Dead Secret by Wilkie Collins. It's been a really fun read. I'll do a little review once I finish it. I'm like 95% on my Kindle. So that's what I'm currently reading, and then as soon as I'm done with that, I'm going to start Kindred, and I'm also reading the Brothers Karamazov with the read-along that's going on. D, what is your drink of choice while reading? Well, usually it's just plain old water. But in the morning, it's often coffee, and if I've got a book in the afternoon, I'll make a cup of tea. It varies. But I usually do have something to drink while I'm reading. Number 5, E. I guess I don't have to give the number, just give the letter. E, ebook or physical? I definitely do both. I like the ebook for the ease of attaining the book. You don't have to go to the library, you don't have to buy it. You don't have to wait for the physical copy to get shipped to you. You can just download it and read. My eyes are bad. I like being able to make the font bigger, and I like being able to read at night. It's backlit, so I don't have to turn on a light and wake my husband up. And since I go through really bad bouts of insomnia sometimes, I really, really have come to really appreciate my Kindle. However, I still like books. I mean, there's a romance with physical books. And I like physical books for certain types of books, like reference books. I don't like reference books on the Kindle. I want something that I can put tabs in and mark up and that sort of thing. So like right now with the Brothers Karamazov, I really wanted a book so I could underline and make notes. And that's what I'm doing, because it's got a lot to it, and I want to be able to savor everything and read through it and underline the quotes that jump out at me, which you can do somewhat on the Kindle, but I don't know. I like the physical book for that more than the Kindle. But I like both. I use both, and I like both. F, favorite fictional or fictitious character. So I'm going to say somebody really obscure, but it's by a famous writer, P.G. Wodehouse. It's a one-off book. It's called The Indiscretions of Archie. And, it's not Jeeves and Wooster. It's not the Blandings. It's not the Smith. It's not his series books. But it's just a one-off. And it's about this bumbling guy just after World War I. He's married this beautiful heiress. And he's British, and he comes to New York because she's from New York, and he's got a very wealthy hotel-owning father-in-law, and he cannot impress. The father-in-law doesn't like him, and he's always bumbling, and it's very funny, very humorous, but he really develops in a way that you don't often see in Wodehouse. He doesn't remain a bumbler all the way. You start to see, in the beginning of the book, I was like, why did this woman marry this guy? But by the end of it, you know why. He's really a heroic guy. I love the character development. I just love the whole book. I've read it several times. So I'm going to say Archie from The Indiscretions of Archie by P.G. Wodehouse. G, Georgia. Do you know any famous Georgians? No. And everyone gave the same answer at Bookish Bryant's, Hannah, and Tom. They all said, we don't know anything about Georgians. We don't. I mean, do they translate it into English? Do we have to learn Georgian in order to read the books? I don't know. It just is not on my radar whatsoever. So, sorry about that. H, horror. Is there a book that really scared you? So, I do not read horror. I'm a scaredy cat. But I did read, I made the horrible mistake when I was like 13 and babysitting to read The Exorcist. It was sitting on the shelf there. It was my sister's apartment, my older sister. I was watching her kids, and I read The Exorcist. Oh my goodness, I was absolutely horrified. I mean, horrified, like just, that was really terrible. And then later, I was a glutton for punishment, because a few years later I read The Boston Strangler, and I did not sleep for about 2 years. That was really bad. So I don't do horror at all. Anymore. It just, I need my sleep. Like I said, I have problems with insomnia, so I don't need that in my life. Okay, I don't know. Italy, India, Ireland, intelligent, whatever you like. I didn't know what to say. So I just went and looked in this bookcase, and this jumped out at me. The Intellectual Life by A.G. Sertelange, I think. He's a Dominican, French Dominican from, I think, the 20s. I just read last Easter, I read another book of his. Amazing. Really amazing, really deep. This is a whole different topic, though. What I read about it was called What Christ Saw from the Cross, and it was this sort of geographical analysis of life in the Holy Land while Jesus was alive. Because Sertiange lived in the Holy Land for a while. But this is about, the intellectual life. It's about study and how to learn and what it does for you. Sort of the virtues of trying to educate yourself. Yeah, on the joys and travails of thinking. Anyway, so that's on my radar. I do want to read this at some point in my life. It's sitting on my bookshelf, and I should get to it at some point. Okay, that was I. So, J. What book have you just finished? So I'm about to finish The Dead Secret, but the last book that I finished was Beatrix Potter, A Life in Nature, which I really, really enjoyed. It was a wonderful biography. K is for King. What is your favorite book about royalty? So I'm not big into royalty like many people on BookTube. It just doesn't do much for me. So I'm going to just cheat a little bit maybe and say The Little Prince. I love that book. Okay, L is for Librarian. Who is your favorite librarian? Marion, of course, from, what's the name of that musical? 76 trombones. Well, whatever. Marion the Librarian. That's my favorite. M is for magazine. By the way, I'm going to do May's for magazine this May, and I'm going to read more of the McClures that I've got up there. I focused on Ida Tarbell, her articles, her expose of Rockefeller. Was it Rockefeller? Oh my gosh, I should have looked. But anyway, I'm going to do May's for magazine again this May because I want to finish reading the really interesting articles from McClure's. Let's see. Yes. So M is for magazine. Do you have any magazine subscriptions or a favorite magazine? Not really. I don't think I do. I have like online ones that I look at. Or like they're more like collections of articles, and then you go to different magazines. I used to be more into magazines. I just haven't been of late. So, yeah. Nope, not really. Okay, on to the next one. N is for news. Where do you usually find your news? I just look at headlines mostly. The Washington Post comes up on my laptop, so I'll look at the headlines. And I'll go to CNN and just look at their headlines, or I'll go to Fox too, just sort of get the opposing view. And often there's like very little overlap between CNN and Fox. It's like they report on two different worlds. But and that's just for headlines. I don't want to hear in-depth stuff like as it's happening, unless there's some catastrophe. Then I'll go and I'll put on CNN or something like that. And then usually what I do is after the fact, I want to listen to somebody I trust or read somebody I trust. So like I do read like Jonah Goldberg's The Dispatch, but then I also like to go to some YouTube channels where they're like socialists and get their point of view. So I like to hear from everybody. I have no particular political affiliation. Like I don't consider myself a Democrat. I don't consider myself a Republican. I'm not a libertarian. I don't have any home. And so I just sort of want to glean what's going on around me, just to try to get the facts and try to make sure it's well balanced. And I've been recently listening to Church and Politics it's a podcast by the AND Campaign. Highly recommend it. I really, really enjoy it. And then I just started listening to podcasts like 6 weeks ago but I've listened to like 3 of those so far. And I also just started, because they mentioned it on that podcast, I started to watch The Hill Rising, something like that. There's 2 people on it. A woman named Crystal Ball, was she really given that name, or is that her stage name? I don't know. And then there's another guy, and I can't remember his name, like Saeed or Saj. I don't know. It's like an Indian name, and it hasn't stuck in my head. Anyway, they try to be really balanced too. So I kind of enjoy their, and I've only watched that like 3 times. So anyway, okay. So that's news. O is for O, and then it's like the F word. Oh. I hate the F word. I hate how crass it's made any kind of discourse, and people just casually say it now, and I just don't get it. It's just, I just hate it. Anyway, but I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about O. It has to be something that begins with O. And so again, I just went and looked at my bookcase, and there is Homer's Odyssey, but I decided not to go with that one. Instead, I went with this one, The Office of Assertion. This is a really interesting summary. Like, it's very pithy about the art of rhetoric. And it's written by a college professor, and he just goes through, it's basically what he teaches his students. But it's like all of rhetoric, from Aristotle on down, and how they taught it and classically. And he just summarizes it in a really pithy, practical to apply way. And then at the end, he took a student's essay, which I think it is on the Odyssey, actually. I think the essay is on the Odyssey. So 2 O's. Yeah. The maturation of Telemachus, however you pronounce that. Anyway, so I recommend this if you want to learn about rhetoric in a easy to read fashion that just sort of tells you the bare bones of it and puts it in this nice context for you. I recommend this book, The Office of Assertion. Let's see. Okay, that was O. P is for Penguin. Which is your favorite publisher? I don't really have a favorite publisher. I have a good bit of Penguins, and I have books that are published by the same, like Everyman. I have various publishers, but the one that I like to go to and just sort of daydream, I go on to their online site and just look through the books and daydream, is a little publisher by the name of Chelsea Green, and that is mostly about gardening and the environment and that sort of thing. So I love that kind of stuff, and so that's probably my favorite. But I do like to go to like Dover Publications and look through their books as well. And I just, since getting on BookTube, I've discovered the New York Review books, and that's a fun place to go to, but I don't own anything, I think, by them, published by them. Okay, next one. Q is for queer. Who is your favorite LGBTQ exclamation point plus author? I don't read with that in mind, so I don't really have anybody. Plus, I tend to like to read older literature, where it's not emphasized, or I don't know. I'm not really into identitarianism very much, but I have heard there's a couple of women authors that I've heard rumors about, and I love their writing. Willa Cather is one, and Barbara Pym. I love both those authors, and I've heard that they may be in that category. So that'll be my answer for that one. And then the last one is R. R is for Russia. Do you have a favorite novel, poem, or writer from Russian literature? Right now, I am reading The Brothers Karamazov, really enjoying it. Where is it? So, yeah, right now, this is it. This is my favorite Russian novel and author. So that is it for me. I've been talking for 19 minutes, so I'm going to shut up. And I'm tagging anybody who wants to do this. So feel free to do it. And I hope you're doing well. Happy reading. Talk to you later. Bye.